All right, shalom, shalom. I'm the brother Maracabdo. But first and foremost, I want to give all praises and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, YAHAWASHI, Ba'ashem, Rakak Kudash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of the great millstone, and the Akim out there that are pushing this truth with nothing but sincerity in the name of Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Al-Shai. So today, today it seemed kind of foggy though, so had to do indoor, like an indoor, we'll call it camp though, but I was gonna go out camp though today, but I wasn't able to though, but it shouldn't stop the lesson to be told though, so just gonna do today just had to do the indoor lesson, I know the Akiam did their camp though yesterday, but tell the brothers that I was be able to go out there, I would though, man, but it's a horrible situation though. It's not the most horrible, but it's pretty bad though, so. But like I said, just gotta keep pushing the word, gotta keep pushing the word. So that just today I couldn't go to Abbott now, so just gonna do the indoor. And so like my lesson was gonna be about YAHAWASHI did not eat pork for Passover because I think it was was it last week though? I don't know when it was though. So I was talking to an individual, and he had told me, he's like, we call him Jesus, right? He's like, well, he actually, cause how did conversation got brought up though? Forgot how conversation was brought up though, but cause this individual was like, my boyfriend though, he's a good dude though, and we were just talking and everything. And he had told me, I forgot what got brought up though. He was like, hey, how come you don't go to the church though, And I told him, well, I don't go to the church though because they have a belief though that they could eat pork and shrimp though and things like that. And it's clearly in the scripture it says that, you're not supposed to though. So, I'm not gonna go to a place where it clearly says in the Bible that you're not supposed to eat those type of things though, but over in the churches they're allowing you to do so, it's just different beliefs, man, just things like that, man. So I stick to the Bible though, And he's all, oh, so you don't oh, okay. He's all, but didn't Jesus eat pork though? I was like, for the Passover? I was like, what the hell? I was like, nah, he never ate pork though, he never ate pork though, so it just things like that. And I'm like, damn, our people don't even know the milk part though, the simple part, because if you knew, like, damn well YAHAWASHI, Jesus probably ate pork though, but YAHAWASHI was his real name, YAHAWASHI in Hebrew. He didn't eat pork though, He didn't eat those things like that, things that make you defile though, what I'm saying? But then people like to use Mark 7 and 15, like, when it talks about, like, it's not what comes out of you that makes you defile, something like that though, to the effect though, but that's not even talking about that, man. It's talking about, what I'm talking about, Mark 7:15, it talks about what you say it makes you defile, because I think it says whatever you take in doesn't make you defile, something to do with that, So, if anything, I'll get to that one, because Christians like to talk about that, that, see, it says that whatever goes in you doesn't make you defile, it's whatever comes out of you makes you defile. But that's not the case though, Yeah, it's right here. Mark 7 and 15. It says, there is nothing from without a man that entering into him can defile him. But the things which come out of him, those are that defile the man. You see, and that's the thing, they like to use that scripture though. And then, like, the thing is though, and the answer, if you keep reading down though, because they like to just hit that precept and see, it's not what goes inside you that makes you defile though, what comes out of you though, But the thing about it though is like, but how is it that like, it wasn't even talking about that, man. It was talking about what comes out of you. Yeah, it makes you defile though, what I'm saying though, because 20 it says, and he said, that which cometh out of a man that defile the man. 21 it says, for from within, out of the heart of man, proceed evil thoughts, adulteries, fornications, murders. You know? And it says thefts, covetous, wickedness, deceit, lasciviousness, an evil eye, blasphemy, blasphemy though, pride, foolishness. All these things come from within and defile the man. See? All these things come within and defile the man. It never talked about, also if you eat pork, it doesn't make you defile. It never said that. It just said that whatever comes out of your mouth, though, it's what makes you defile, though. You see what I'm saying, though? It says all these things come from within and defile the man. See, all these things come within a man, which is what? The heart, the lob, though, the lob. So that's what makes the defile man. You know what I'm saying, though? It didn't give you the what's it called, though? The go-to to eat pork and shrimp, though. You know what I'm saying, though? So it's what comes out of a man. It's what makes you defile, though. You know what I'm saying, though? So that's the thing about it, though, man. So, and then, because he said, because he really didn't know the history of the Passover, Because I told him, like the original Passover, like, first Passover happened at the time of Moses, though, So he kind of looked at me, though, like, if he didn't know, like, what do you mean, like, he didn't know the history about the Passover, Because about YAHAWASHI's Passover, but you gotta know the history, though, of the Passover, Because you could say this and that, though, but then it's like, well, in the history, it was like this and that, you know what I'm saying, though? Because I had told him, I was like, nah, even in the time of Moses, they didn't eat no pork, though. You know what I'm saying? They ate the stuff for Passover, because it was things, though, that they ate in Passover, It wasn't just like, it's like, how you not know, like, you know what I'm saying? But it's within our people, man. They don't know, Like, how do you not know, like, what they actually ate in Passover? If you read the Bible, man, it'll tell you right there, So, this is what they ate in Passover at the time of Moses, right? So, Exodus 12:4, I read down to 11, though, it says, and if the household be too little for the lamb, oh no, what? I'll get the 5. Select it. So this is Exodus 12, right? 5. Because this is talking about the Passover, like the first Passover, It says, your lamb shall be without blemish. So, no, it's supposed to be clean, no blemish, though, Because let me see that definition of blemish, though, we see what blemish is, right? It says, blemish, it says, to disparage, dishonor, impair mortally, to damage or spoil, disfigure, to turn pale, stain, discolor, So something like that's like, not disaffected, not good, though, like something, like you see a stain, like let's say you see a meat, right, like a slice of meat, though, and you see like that green, kind of like, not this color, though, but like more bluish, though, on the meat, though, and it's like a stain, though, and it's like, looks like mold, it looks like mold, you're gonna be like, oh no, that shit ain't no good, though. So right here, the lamb, though, that you're supposed to take is supposed to have no blemish, so it's supposed to be clean, though. It's supposed to be a clean lamb, though. But when you go into the supermarkets and things like that, you don't know where you're getting, though. You could be either be getting a female, lamb. You could be getting because you know what I'm saying, though, because it's supposed to be from a year old lamb, though. You're supposed to raise that lamb all the way up until it's a year and ready for the Passover, though. You know what I'm saying, though? So that's the thing about it, though. So, but here we don't got it made like that, though. So we try to keep it as perfect as we can, but we can't, though. You know what I mean? We're in Babylon. So it says, a male of the first year. See, you shall take it out from the sheep or from the goats, and he shall keep it up until the 14th day of the same month. And the whole assembly of the congregation of Israel shall kill it in the evening. See, it says the congregation of Israel. I didn't see no Edomites or Ammonites or anything like that. It says the congregation of Israel shall kill it in the evening. They shall take the blood and strike it on the two sides of posts and the upper door posts of the house, within they shall eat it. You know? It says, and they shall eat the flesh in that night, roast with fire, and unleavened bread, and with bitter herbs they shall eat it. See? That's what they were eating, you know? They shall eat the flesh in that night, roast with fire, unleavened bread, with bitter herbs. You know, we eat the radish though, you know, for the bitter herbs represent the, you know, captivity here in America. And they shall eat it. Eat not of it raw, nor sodden with all water, but roast with fire his head and his legs, and within the pertinence thereof. See? So it's supposed to be unleavened bread, you know, bitter herbs, and it says thou shalt eat it. So in the lamb, of course, you know. So it never talked about no pork though. You know what I'm saying though? So if, you know, our boyfriend would have known though, read this though, he would have known that there's no, you know, eating in the Passover though. Pork though, man, that's blasphemy right there, you know? So, and that's the thing about it though, man. So, and it says, yeah. So that's what they were eating. That's what they were eating in the time of Moses' Passover. And traditionally wise though, you know, within our people though, you know. But here you are, our people eating pork and shrimp and all this type of stuff on Easter, which makes Salaka. Hold on, let me go get it real quick. Like I was saying though, there are people so-called celebrating the Passover, which is not even at the right time. You know what I'm saying though? They celebrate it like the time of they don't even celebrate it, and then they're celebrating this heathen, you know, the worshiping of the what's it called? The worshiping of the fertility god though, called Easter. You know what I'm saying though? They don't call on the right thing with Passover. They don't celebrate on the right day. They gave thanks to Jesus, and they eat pork though. Like, you know what I'm saying though? So then within our people, that's why a lot of our people get judged though, because they don't keeping it how holy, how they're supposed to though, you know? So it's like, how are you supposed to take these people serious though, man? When it's like, you guys ain't even doing it the right way, man. They believe the beginning of the year is January though. When it's the time of spring though, that's when the beginning of the year, you know, which makes perfect sense. Why would it be the beginning of the year in the time of spring though? Because that's when everything grows though, you know? You know, the winter be over and the spring comes though and then that's when everything starts growing though, man. It looks beautiful. That's a beautiful time, the beginning of the year, you know, the springtime. You know, starts getting a little warm, you know, because right now we're in the time of cold, you know? Fucking cold right now, you know? So that's the thing about it though, you know? So anyways, you know, just going into the history of the Passover of what we ate though, you know, which wasn't pork though. You know what I mean though? So so that's the thing about it though. So let me get Luke 2 and 41 says and it's talking about YAHAWASHI, right? It says, and the child grew and waxed strong in spirit, filled with wisdom, and the grace of God was upon him. Now his parents went to Jerusalem every year at the feast of the Passover. See? So this was every year that, you know, that our people will go, you know, to Jerusalem, time of Passover, which they're supposed to go, the adult, you know, the man, right? The male, right? Supposed to go 3 times out of the year to Jerusalem, you know? And it says, and when he was 12 years old, they went up to Jerusalem after the custom of the feast. See? So like I said earlier, it was traditional for us to go to Jerusalem, though, you know? And it says, and when they fulfilled the days as they returned, the child Yahawashi tarried behind in Jerusalem, and Joseph and his mother knew not of it. But they, supposing him to have been in the company, went a day's journey, and they sought him among the kinsfolk and acquaintance. And they found him not. They turned back again to Jerusalem seeking him. See? So they went back though, you know? So I had screenshotted something real quick, you know? Let me look for it though. Let me see. Because I had put though. I had put, in the time of Yahawashi was there pork in the temple of Jerusalem, and it says, no, there would not have been pigs in Jerusalem itself during Passover, as Jews are forbidden from raising and eating pork. However, the biblical accounts of pigs in the vicinity of Jerusalem likely occurred in non-Jewish areas, see, surrounding the city, such as Decapolis, like a region where pig farming was common among Gentiles for trade and consumption. See, and that's the thing that says, no, there would not have been pigs in Jerusalem itself during Passover. See, it couldn't even be near it, man. You know, so that's the thing about it, though, man. So there was no pigs, though, man. So it tells you right here, even at the time of Passover, when Yahawashi went to Jerusalem, there was no pigs, though. And that's when they did Passover in Jerusalem. So no way Yahawashi was eating pork though. You know what I'm saying though? No way Yahawashi was eating pork though. Because it says no, there would not have been pigs in Jerusalem itself during Passover. See? Come on now, you know? So that's crazy to think though that, you know what I'm saying, that Yahawashi ate pork though in the time of Passover. You know, that's crazy though. That's beyond crazy though, you know? So that's what I'm saying though, you know what I mean? So I had to put what made Yahawashi perfect, right? So I said what made Yahawashi perfect? It says Yahawashi was made perfect through his suffering and obedience, which brought him into the point of completing his redemptive work as the perfect high priest, which is true, you know, the source of eternal salvation, you know, to his people, to his elect, mostly, you know. This does not mean he was ever sinful or morally imperfect, but rather that he moved from an untested, sinless state to a fully tested, proven, and complete one. See? But it says sinless state, you know? So sinless state, you know? So what? He didn't commit sin, right? So let's get into the definition of sinless state. What does sinless state mean? See, it says, I put, what does sinless state mean? It says, a sinless state is the condition of being completely free from sin, representing perfect moral and spiritual purity. In Christian theology, this state is primarily attributed to God and Yahawashi Mashiach, though some interpretations discuss the potential for believers to achieve the state of sinless perfection or an eventual freedom from sin in heaven. See? So, Yahawashi didn't commit no sin. He was perfect man. That's what made him perfect. That he wasn't committing no sins, though. You know what I'm saying, though? So, and that's the thing, though. You know what I mean? So then within our people, though, they don't even know what sin is, though, man. You know what I'm saying, though? Like, what is sin? Like, oh, sin is when you do bad, though. But yeah, like, yeah, it's bad, though. But at the same time, did you know eating pork is bad, too? Like, no, that's ain't sin like that. How is that sin, though? You know, I'm not hurting anybody by eating pork, though. But you're hurting your body, you're hurting your temple. You're defiling your temple. As an Israelite, you're defiling your temple. So, how is it that you're okay? Well, I don't kill, I don't commit adultery, I don't steal. Yeah, those are part of the big sins too, don't get me wrong though. But it's still a sin not to, eating pork is a sin. You know what I'm saying though? So that's the thing about it though. So you gotta understand what is sin, So we got that out of the way. So that Yahawashi didn't eat pork though, right? So because what made him perfect? Because he didn't sin though. So therefore, if he would have ate pork though, that's committing a sin. To some people, to a lot of people, better yet though, it's not a big deal though. But it is a big deal, man. So we get 1 John. I'll get 1 John 1 through 9 though, because it's a beautiful chapter right here. Because it says, "Behold, what manner of love the Father hath bestowed upon us, that we should be called the sons of God. Therefore the world knoweth us not, because it knew him not. Behold, now we are the sons of God, and it doth not yet appear which we shall be, but we know that when he shall appear, we shall be like him, for we shall see him as he is. And every man that hath this hope in him purify himself, even as he is pure." So how do you purify yourself? You leave the old man behind, you become a new creature though. You know what I'm saying though? You become a new creature though. So we're not saying to keep the commandments, the law, statutes, commandments, but at least keep it to your best of your ability though. You know what I'm saying though? Because we know we fall short, Our righteousness is considered as filthy rags though, We know when these bodies though, we sin. Shit, I'm sinning right now because I got this mixed, mingled material though, clothing. That's a sin though. But what can I do though, We gotta go to the enemies to get our stuff though, So anyways, it says, "Whosoever committeth sin transgresses also the law." For this is the key. For sin is the transgression of the law. So see, for sin is the transgression of the law, breaking of the law. See? So it says, "Whosoever abideth in him sinneth not." See? "Whosoever sinneth hath not seen him, neither know him." See? So if you're here breaking the law, and it ain't the breaking the law of just Esau though, but it's breaking the law of the statutes and commandments though. And this is the New Testament right here, man. Because it says, "Whoever abideth in him sinneth not." See? So whoever abideth in him sinneth not. So you're not going to be eating pork and shit and thinking that Yahawashi is going to come and rescue you. You know what I'm saying though? That's not the case though, man. So how is it that you will truly believe that Yahawashi is going to... You're over here eating fucking shitlins. And yeah, you expect Yahawashi to save you though. But it says, "Whoever sinneth hath not seen him, neither know him." See? And that's the thing about it though, man. So a lot of our people, man, sin, man, like crazy though, man. They transgress though. What is the stacking of transgression? Iniquity, man. The wages of sin is death. See? That's why a lot of people get judged a lot though, man. Especially nowadays. My woman just told me today that there was a shooting up in Stockton though, that 4 kids or something died though. I'll put it up though for next, you know what I mean? But we'll plan to put it up in my channel though. But yeah, I guess there was a shooting in Stockton though, that motherfuckers died. You know what I'm saying though? So that's the thing about it though, man. You know what I'm saying though? And then most likely, because I think she told me it was gang members, and who's the most gang members that we know of? Either fucking Judah, or Issachar, or Zebulon, you know what I mean? The motherfuckers was gangbanging and shit. Especially over in Stockton though. Stockton has a lot of, it's a lot of gang activity out there, man. A lot of red raggers out there, you know what I'm saying though? So most likely it was something to do with gang ties and shit, But, 4 kids, I think she said 4 kids got judged though, man. So that's the thing about it, man. So, and it was in the birthday party. So it was over there celebrating a birthday party, which, you're not supposed to celebrate though, man. You know what I'm saying though? Because the thing about it though is that, we don't get into the spirit though, because the brother Kawak, just yesterday they had camp though, right? And he said that, Thanksgiving though that he said that his brother made I think he said made chicken, and he had pork though, but he had baked chicken for Kawak though, because he knows that he doesn't eat pork though, right? So he's like, I think he's the brother said that his brother said that, don't you miss the smell? And that shit fell into the ground, you know. And that's the thing, you know, that shit was, you know, when I heard that, you know, that shit was funny to me though, you know, like it fell into the ground, and he said he started laughing though, you know. So that's the thing about it though, man. So yeah, he went with his family, but brother wasn't in the spirit of Thanksgiving though, you know what I'm saying though, because it was the gathering that he went to with the family though, you know, because you just never know. Which he doesn't have a point though, because that day too, like I said, like I wasn't really in the mood to do anything, of course though, you know what I mean. I wasn't in the spirit of Thanksgiving though, but I went with my woman's parents though to get a plate, you know, and she knows, you know, I don't eat the defiled things and things like that though, so she served me the plate of what wasn't defiled though, you know. So I ate it though, and her father was, you know what I'm saying, he's like, he pretty much is saying like, it's not the fact that it's the Thanksgiving that we're celebrating, it's just the gathering of all of us here though, you know. So, you know what I mean, so, you know, I was like, yeah, it's true, you know, like, you just never know, you know, things like that though. But I don't come with the spirit of, oh, you know, Thanksgiving though, and you know, all this other stuff though. It's just that, you know, family and things like that though, you know. We were just there for like an hour or two, but went back home, you know. But like I said though, it's not a sin for you to go and get a plate though, you know. A lot of brothers will tell you this though, you know. It's not a sin to go and get a plate though, but get a plate of nothing that defiles you, of course, as an Israelite man, you know what I mean. So that's what I'm talking about though, you know. So, and then like I said, we're in this captivity though, you know what I mean. So a lot of us have kids though, you know, the birthdays and shit like that though. So you don't really get into the spirit though, you know what I'm saying though, like, oh, birthdays and things like that though, you know what I'm saying though, because, you know, I got young kids though, and they up and Daddy wants to do the birthdays though, but you know what I'm saying, I'm not into that spirit of the big parties and this and that though, you know. I'd rather give my son, you know, a hug and some money though, and things like that, you know. But it's like they're so small that they don't understand this truth though, you know. They don't really understand it though. But you know, son gets older, make sure that, hey, you know, like this birthday stuff, man, this is no good though, man. All right, you know, celebrate your birthday, you know what I mean though. This is something from the heathen that they would do, you know. The cake represents the moon, you know, the moon god. The candles represent the light of the moon, or the sun, or something like that, you know. The candles represent the light though of the moon. So even it goes back to when they bake cakes to the goddess though, the goddess of, forgot what though, you know what I mean though. But anyways, that cake represents the moon though, you know. And in the book of Job, it talks about how his kids were celebrating a birthday of one of his kids though, and then they all died though, you know what I'm saying though. So that's the type of things that I'm talking about though, you know what I mean. But anyways, the people that died in Stockton, they were at a birthday party and shit, you know. And you know, most likely all of them were in that spirit of celebrating the birthday though, you know what I'm saying though. And look what the fuck happened, you know what I'm saying. That's why you need a man of the Lord though, keep that hedge over you, you know. And like I said, we're not into the spirit of this, we're not in the spirit of that, you know. We know damn well though, man, you know what I'm saying though. But it just, like, we're still in here, you know. So it sucks though. So like I was saying though, you know, we don't get into the spirit of these wicked holidays, you know. Next is Christmas though, you know. So I don't get into that. That's a fucking, I hate that motherfucking holiday. Gotta be the worst holiday ever for me though, personally though, you know. That Christmas shit, man, you know, it has to be the worst holiday for me, man. But you know, that for me personally, it's that and that 4th of July though, you know, because, you know, I mean, celebrating 4th of July, like our enemies and shit, you know, like celebrating with them and shit. Nah, hell no. But anyways, let me get Deuteronomy 14:7. It says, never, like I said, what is sin? Transgression of the law, right? Nevertheless, these ye shall not eat from them that chew the cud, or of them that divide the cloven hoof, as the camel and the hare and the coney, for they chew the cud, but divideth not the hoof. Therefore they are unclean unto you. And 8, the key, right? 8. And the swine because it divideth the hoof, yet cheweth not the cud, it is unclean to you. You shall not eat of their flesh, nor touch the dead carcass. The swine is the pig, the pork. You see? It says, and the swine, but divideth not, yet chew not, they shall be unclean unto you. You know? So this is something that you're not supposed to eat, man. This is part of the law, man. You know? That's part of the law. And that's the thing about it, though. So you're not supposed to eat that. You know? And, so yeah, you being an Israelite, you know, Israelite man, woman, you're not supposed to eat that, you know? So, let me get Matthew 26, because this is YAHAWASHI's, time of YAHAWASHI when he had Passover, right? It says, and as they were eating, YAHAWASHI took bread, blessed it, and brake it, and gave it to the disciples, and said, take, eat, this is my body. And he took the cup, and gave thanks, and gave it to them, saying, drink ye all of it. For this is my, because it says, where does it say? Oh yeah. And they said, eating, YAHAWASHI took bread, and blessed it, and brake it. See? Bread. That ain't say no fucking pork, though. You know? And it says, and he took the cup, and gave thanks, and gave it to them, saying, drink ye all of it. For this is my blood of the New Testament, which is shed for many for the remission of sins. You know? So that's the thing about it, though, man. So, like, we understand, like, you know, it wasn't cannibalism type of thing that YAHAWASHI was talking about. You know, it was more spiritual, parable, you know? So that's the thing. But he said breaking the bread, though. It didn't say breaking the pork and giving it to the disciples, though. See what I'm saying, though? So this is the type of things that our people don't know, man. So even with, like I said, I'm going back to my mom's boyfriend, I didn't know, I know he's not a churchgoer, or, I mean, they have a Bible in their house, though, of course, though, but I was even surprised, like, damn, man, like you believe that he was actually eating pork, though, and like, what? It's crazy to me, though, you know? So that's why I had to make a lesson about it, though, you know, because he's not just the only one that believes that. There's probably many, many people believe that YAHAWASHI ate pork, though, man. And Passover, though, like, you know what I mean? He ain't probably the only one. There's probably a lot more people that, like him, that believe that YAHAWASHI ate pork, though, you know? That's why I had to make this lesson, though, because it was like, nah, man, like, you know what I'm saying, though? Well, I had told him, you know, I told him, nah, he didn't eat pork, though, you know? I had told him that same day, you know, like, nah, he didn't eat no fucking pork, though. You know what I mean? You gotta go back to the time of Moses, I told him, you know? The first Passover, though, like, the history of it, that you will know what they were eating, though, you know? And of course, the bread, though, it's the unleavened bread. There was no leaven in the bread. Most likely, I mean, that YAHAWASHI broke, though, it was unleavened bread, you know? So that's the thing, though. And this will be the last precept right here, time of the Maccabees, right? So, time of the Maccabees, remember, it says, the time of the Maccabees, they all went in there. I'll get First Maccabees 1 and 33, it says, or 31, it says, because, you know, it was the, what's it called, the Greeks, though, right? Alexander the Great, where they were taking over, man. They were taking over. So it says, and he had taken the spoils of the city. He set it on fire, pulled down the houses and walls thereof on every side. But the women and children took they captive and possessed the cattle. Then builded they the city of David with a great and strong wall, and with mighty towers, and made a stronghold for them. And they put within a sinful nation wicked men, and see, sinful nation, wicked men, and fortified themselves within. They stored it also with armor, victuals, and when they had gathered together the spoils of Jerusalem, they laid them apart, and then they became a sore snare. It says, for it was a place to lie in wait against the sanctuary and evil adversary to Israel. So it says, thus they shed innocent blood on every side of the sanctuary, and they fouled it. See? And so much that the inhabitants of Jerusalem fled because of them. Whereupon the city was made an habitation of strangers, and became strange to those that were born in her, and her own children left her. See? And her sanctuary was laid waste like a wilderness. Her feasts were turned into mourning, her Sabbath into reproach, her honor into a contempt, and have been her glory. So was her dishonor increased, and her excellency was turned into mourning. See? Moreover, King Antiochus wrote to his whole kingdom that all shall be one people, and everyone shall leave his laws. So all the heathen agreed according to the commandment of the king. See? So many also of the Israelites consented to his religion and sacrificed unto idols and profaned the Sabbath. See? A lot of people sold out, you know? A lot of people sold out. That's the thing. It says, for the king has sent letters by messengers into Jerusalem in the cities of Judah that they shall follow the strange laws of the land. You see? So like they were just catching hell. You know, Israel was just catching hell. Well, the what's it called? More of the southern kingdom, you know? They shall also leave their children uncircumcised. Oh, Slakia. I fucking skipped the part. It says, and forbid burnt offerings, sacrifice, drink offerings into the temple, that they shall profane the Sabbath and festival days, and pollute the sanctuary and the holy people. Who are the holy people? The Israelites. It says, set up altars and groves and chapels of idols, and sacrifice swine's flesh and unclean beasts. See? Because it says, yeah, so that's what I'm saying though. So they were just going all out. You know what I'm saying? Because it says, set up altars, different gods, groves, and chapels of idols, and sacrifice swine's flesh and unclean beasts. See? So that was it, man. They you know what I mean? There was swine up in there though. They had to rebuild another temple. You know what I mean? Time of the Maccabees. See what I'm saying though? So, you know, YAHAWASHI never ate, man, pork though. In the Sabbath, in Passover, man. You see what I'm saying though? So, you know, I just wanted to get into the history and then YAHAWASHI too though, you know, because like it's crazy to think that, man, too, you know, that he ate pork and shit, you know what I mean though? But it's like you want to be like Yahweh. These people want to be like Jesus, right? YAHAWASHI, but they eat pork though and shrimp, knowing damn well that he didn't eat pork or shrimp though. You know what I'm saying though? He followed the statutes and commandments though, man. That's what made him perfect though, man. You see what I'm saying though? But within our people, like they read Mark's 7 and 15, they read those type of things like that, which that's an easy breakdown though, you know, to what's it called, explain though, because then you go to the book of Acts though about Peter when he had that, you know, vision. So, you know, it's just so much to cut people though, man. You know what I'm saying though? So that's the thing about it though, man. So like I said though, like, and it says what's the third temple? The third temple is us though. So how you eating pork though, you're defiling the temple if you think about it, man. You know what I'm saying though? If you know what I'm saying? Because the third temple, you know, the small hats over there building the third temple over there in Israel. But guess what? The third temple is us though. Well, Lord will you know what I mean? It's the 144,000 of course though. You know, that's the temple. You know, the 144,000 eating no fucking pork though. No, because that's defining the temple. Like I said, Book of Maccabees, all these altars, and they put swine in the temple that they couldn't. Nah, man, they had to build another one though, man, because it was just so defiled though. So if you're doing this to your own body though, you're committing adultery, eating swine, smoking though. You're doing all this shit to your temple, man. You're defiling your temple with all this though, man. And it says, you know, if the day come though, YAHAWASHI, you gotta be blameless within that day though. So here you are doing all this shit though, right? And like, you know what I mean? You're not blameless because you got things to blame on you because you're doing all this stuff still. You see what I'm saying though? So that's the thing about it though, man. So like I said, the 144,000, they're not eating swine though. You know, especially on Passover. Hell no, man. They ain't no fucking swine though, man. So those are the type of things that you know makes our people go off, man. So you know, within that though, that day, you know, I'm like, damn, like our people don't know the milk parts, not even the milk parts. They don't know nothing, man. So that's why we're out there prophesying, you know, to the wind. You know what I'm saying though? Because you just never know who will come across though, and someone that uneducated or doesn't know the scriptures like that, it's good to explain to them though. Hey, nah, man. Let me talk to you. You know what I mean? Let me preach to you according to the scriptures, man. You know. So things like that though. So that's just the way it is though, man. So with that, hopefully, the sit down was edifying. I want to give all praise and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem, Kakadash, and double honors to the apostles, a great millstone. With that, I want to say Shalom.